All right, here we go. Episode 1 of the G-Men Report podcast. My name is Adam Bernstein. For those of you who don't know me, contributing writer for Fansided's Giants Network, G-Men HQ, lifelong New York Giants fan. Very excited to start this new project, new podcast. Been wanting to do a Giants podcast for a very long time now, so very excited to finally get it off the ground running. And again, for those of you that don't know me, I'm a graduate of the University of Rhode Island, degree with sports media communications and public relations. I've been with SiriusXM now for the last 2.5, going on 3 years as a producer. And the last 1.5 years, I've been fortunate enough to be an associate producer on NBA radio, which has been an incredible experience for me. It's taught me a lot about the sports media and broadcasting industry, and been very fortunate enough to get the opportunity to work with a lot of former NBA players, media members, coaches, former coaches, and of course, some of the other producers and co-workers that I have over at Sirius. Former intern there as well. I had a stop at MSG Networks as a production assistant. So I've gotten enough of a taste of what it's like to be around sports media and just learning a little bit more about this industry and this business. And it's taught me a lot to prepare me for a project like this. So enough about me. Let's talk about this podcast. Like I said, diehard New York sports fan, diehard New York Giants fan. Covers the team for Fansided, G-Men HQ. You can read my article, some of my pieces over there. I'll have that linked as well below, all the information. Come find me on social media, find the podcast on social media, and of course, some of the articles and pieces that I've written about our beloved New York Giants. But I figured it's a new era of New York Giants football. And as we enter year 1 of the John Harbaugh era, with a new era, with a new year, comes the birth of a new podcast. And here we are recording episode 1 of the G-Men Report pod after the Giants' first preseason game of the year last Saturday afternoon against the Minnesota Vikings. Maybe not the outcome that Harbaugh and the team were looking for, but when I watch the preseason, I care less about the Giants' record. I care less about whether they're winning games, losing games. I'm looking at which players played, who didn't, how everyone performed, who was out with injuries. And so that's sort of what I'm keeping a close eye on, and what I was watching very closely when watching this game against the Vikings. The two biggest positional battles at Giants training camp this summer are wide receiver and cornerback. There's a kicker battle going on as well between Ben Zalls and Dominic Zavada. We'll get into that a little bit later in this podcast. But for me, those two areas are the areas that I'm watching very closely. So to see some of the Giants rookies be able to partake or participate in this game are really exciting for me. And I was really excited to watch guys like Francis Mauigoa and Malachi Fields and Arvell Reese and Colton Hood and Jack Kelly. Pretty much all of the Giants rookies were playing, and we're going to talk about that. So very exciting. It's a great sign and a great step in the right direction for the future of the franchise and for Harbaugh. I think watching these guys play and getting these early reps and early in-game action opportunities in the preseason is what it's all about. So that's really what I'm watching, is sort of the first time that these guys suit up and dress for Big Blue. That's the first thing that I'm watching when I watch these preseason games. So we'll talk about that. Again, maybe not the outcome that Harbaugh was looking for, but we're going to talk about that. On this podcast, we're going to give you the game recaps. We'll talk, after every Sunday, after the wins, the losses. There'll be plenty of both of those. I'm expecting to have guests, former players, maybe some former coaches, players, maybe some media members as well. There's going to be opinionated debates, hot takes, news. We're going to talk all things Big Blue on this podcast. So if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for New York Giants content, you're in the right place, right here in the G-Men Report pod. Let's dive right in to what this episode is going to be about. Again, my biggest takeaways from the Giants' first preseason game against the Minnesota Vikings. We'll start with the offense. I really want to start there because we did see Jackson Dart in this game. He started. Dart and most of the first-team offense started on Saturday. Dart had two drives, and it's worth noting that left tackle Andrew Thomas and center John Michael Schmitz were not active in this game. So the entire offensive line that we expect to see on week 1 against the Cowboys was not playing in this game. But left tackle Andrew Thomas is healthy, so not a scare there. No concern there as of right now or anything to worry about. I believe he was dressed. I know he was there, ready to go, and it was just for rest that they decided we're not going to play him today, but maybe another opportunity to watch him and go see him play next Saturday against the Miami Dolphins. So that's something I'm really looking forward to, getting back out there and blocking for Jackson Dart up front. As for JMS, he is injured. He's dealing with an injury. So we got a look at Brian Hudson at center. And so that was pretty interesting for the Giants. We had a couple of other offensive linemen come in throughout the game. Guys like Evan Neal, veteran like Evan Neal, who didn't look the best at times. He struggled a little bit. And so that, allowed for some of the younger guys like Francis Malinois, the 10th overall pick. When you talk about rookies, definitely somebody that I was watching. He stepped in at right guard, and I think he did really well with Evan Neal's struggles. What else is new? Again, Evan Neal, not sure why he's on this team competing for a roster spot, but maybe there's something that John Harbaugh and this offense can unlock or unleash in the former first-round pick, and maybe try and unlock his true potential. We've been trying to do that now for several years with Evan Neal, but regardless, we saw Francis Malinois. He is expected to be a starter on this team, and I thought he looked really good. I thought he played really well at right guard alongside Jermaine Illuminor at right tackle. I think there's a lot to take away from this performance. I think Malinois is one of those guys, again, the first-round pick out of Miami, the 10th overall pick of the Giants, that you really can put him anywhere on the offensive line, and we'll see that. And I think, with constant injuries to the offensive line, you need a guy like Malinois who's going to fill in anywhere. Lucas Patrick, who the Giants have had in training camp this summer, he's expected to get reps at center should JMS not be ready. I don't know if he played in this game. I know he's been dealing with injuries as well. So, obviously things to monitor or watch when it comes to the center position. Brian Hudson was the starter. For Jackson Dart, the man under center, Dart's day included 3 completions on 4 passes. He had 26 yards, but the biggest play, of course, was the 15-yard touchdown to who else? Another rookie, wide receiver Malachi Fields, the 3rd-round pick out of Notre Dame. All 7 Giants rookies played in this game. So great look for Malachi Fields. I was incredibly impressed with him. Aside from just the touchdown, I thought he looked great. He caught all 3 of his targets for 34 yards. He had that touchdown, making maybe one of the most athletic plays of the game, leaping over Ivan Pace, and pretty fitting for it to be against the Minnesota Vikings. It was almost like a Randy Moss type play over the head of Pace, and I thought it was a great play by him, especially to find the end zone kind of in that top left corner. And also just a great play by Jackson Dart. I think we got to give him his flowers as well. Escaping the pocket, being able to throw on the run. He makes this play after coming out of the game, taking a nasty hit, being evaluated for a concussion, going to the Blue Medical tent. Unfortunately, something that Giant fans are just a little too familiar with, having seen that a lot last year, and not something that we really want to see this year. We hope to see less of that this year. So seeing him go to the medical tent after that drive, or in the middle of that drive, was really not a great sign for him. But fortunately, he was okay. It's worth noting that, speaking of the offensive line and taking nasty hits and getting sacked, 4 total sacks on Giants quarterbacks on Saturday afternoon. So really not a great look by the Giants offensive line. But again, you can't really harp on it too much. You can't look into it too much. Not everybody was playing. It's preseason. Andrew Thomas wasn't out there. You didn't have JMS. You didn't have Lucas Patrick. So you can't evaluate it or look into it too much. But again, not really a great sign that they allowed 4 sacks. But it is something to at least note of and keep an eye on for the offensive line. That play actually was more on Tyrone Tracy. I think what happened was he missed the block on Jay Ward, and was completely embarrassed because he allowed for Dart to be knocked down and pretty much head to the tent from there. Luckily for Dart, again, he came right back into the game. Jameis Winston took over for a snap, and Dart came in, found the end zone, found Malachi Fields. That was really the first play of the game where it really hit Giant fans okay, we are back. This is the NFL season is here. The Giants are back. We're back, literally back in the New York groove. So I thought that was really cool that we got to see, if anyone that could have the first Giant touchdown of the season, it'd be one of the newer guys who's working towards getting a roster spot. And for Fields, the rookie out of Notre Dame, 3rd-round selection, remember, they traded for him. They traded up for him They didn't originally have a third-round pick. They had the 2 first-round picks. They traded Dexter Lawrence. They were able to get Maui Noah. They took Arvell Reese at 5, then Maui Noah at 10, and then took Colton Hood with the second-round pick. Didn't have a third-round pick, so they traded up to get Malachi Fields. Clearly, they see something in him. The rookie out of Notre Dame, again, the third-round selection. I think he's in a great position right now to not only make the team, clear-cut make the team. He could be a starter day one, but I think at some point with injuries, we don't know the status of Malik Neighbors just yet. He's trending in the right direction. It looks like he'll be ready to play by week 1. But again, injuries come up, things come up, and you don't know. Will Darnell Mooney be ready? Will Darius Slayton be ready? I think if all goes well, Malachi Fields, who's developing great chemistry with Jackson Dart, at some point next year will be the team's wide receiver 2, or maybe even wide receiver 1. It'll be similar Wan'Dale Robinson situation of last year in terms of impact, where Neighbors went down with the injury. Somebody had to step up. Wan'Dale stepped up and took over as the team's starter or as the team's wide receiver 1. I don't think Malachi Fields, he's a very different player than Wan'Dale. He's not small. He's not a slot guy. He's more of a deep threat, a red zone target. And I think he's somebody that Jackson Dart will rely on and lean on more, especially in the end zone, especially when they drive down the field. He's going to be a red zone target for them. He's a big, athletic guy. He's fast. He runs good routes. He's got good hands. And that's why they drafted him. That's why they traded up for him out of Notre Dame. But I think at some point, he will be the wide receiver 2. If all goes well, assuming everyone stays healthy, he has a chance to be a big contributor on this offense for him. Sticking with the offense here, Giants featured 6 different running backs, including Cam Scatterbo, Tyrone Tracy, we just alluded to, missed that block on Jake Ward, and Devin Singletary, who arguably made the biggest offensive play of the game. He had a 40-yard reception, and it's funny because of all the wide receivers, of all the pass catchers, tight ends, everyone that played in this game, if you were to tell me to bet on the player who would have a 40-yard reception, the biggest pass-catching play of the game, Devin Singletary, Motor, would probably be the last player I bet on. He's on a 1-year deal. The veteran is a minimal contract, not expected to contribute all that much, but he'll be involved in the running game. I know the Giants are interested in bringing in another running back, potentially with Dante Miller being hurt. He did play in the last game. They're bringing in Najee Harris for a visit, I think, as we speak right now on Monday as we record this. So that'll be interesting to watch. But Singletary, really good play for the veteran there. Biggest offensive play of the game, arguably. 40, other than, of course, the touchdown from Malachi Fields, the 40-yard reception. I was really impressed with that play. And so that was a really cool play by Devin Singletary. Obviously not even a rushing play either. It was a passing play. Speaking of pass catchers that stood out to me, it's worth talking about because when we talk about positional battles, the wide receiver positional battle, to me, is one that stands out the most. It's been something I've been watching very closely this summer at training camp when they were down in West Virginia. Now that they're back in New York, I'm watching wide receiver very closely. They got a lot of wide receivers that are competing, and they obviously can't keep all of them on the 53-man roster. But also just for weapons that Jackson Dart can rely on and lean on during the season. We talked about Malachi Fields. So the pass catchers that stood out to me, Fields being one of them. We just mentioned him for his touchdown. I was really impressed with his game. And again, I think he is someone that will not only make the team, but he's going to start contributing right away. And I think he'll make Matt Nagy and John Harbaugh very happy. He'll make Jackson Dart's life very easy. He gets open, and he makes athletic plays like the one he did over Ivan Pace Jr. Isaiah Likely, he was also involved. He stood out to me a little bit here. He only had 2 receptions for 11 yards, but first throw of the game by Jackson Dart went right to Isaiah Likely. So I was very impressed with him, the new tight end there. I think he's looked really good. I think he's somebody that you can just assume will come in and take over immediately as the tight end 1 alongside Theo Johnson. But he's developed a really good chemistry with Jackson Dart. And again, for him to rely on him right away, I think is something, and there's anyone who knows how to use it, it's John Harbaugh with him playing as the tight end. He's been the tight end 2 for all of these years, but we've seen flashes of how good Likely can be alongside Mark Andrews in Baltimore. Harbaugh uses him very well, and now he's going to have the opportunity as a young player to really break out. He's one of my breakout players this year. Somebody I might draft him in fantasy this year because I think he's going to be heavily targeted by Jackson Dart. And for him to be targeted right away, the 2 receptions, 11 yards, I loved watching Isaiah Likely. I think he's going to be someone that will, really make an impact on this Giants offense in the pass catching game as well. And we're going to throw Odell Beckham Jr. in there as well. It's so great to see. It's amazing to see Odell back in the Giants uniform, back at MetLife Stadium. It's like, what year is it, right? Like, is it 2016? It's so cool to see that. Would have liked to see him wear 1-3, to see number 13. Let's hope he gets that from Jalen Hyatt pretty soon. But regardless, we'll settle for 3 for now. Seeing OBJ out there was awesome. He made his return at MetLife Stadium, and honestly, not really a bad return for him. 2 catches, 6 yards, including the first catch being his signature slant route, something that Giant fans are used to seeing in his first stint with the Giants when he got drafted here. This is a guy that's been, multiple-time Pro Bowler, was first round pick, drafted to the New York Giants. He's a veteran, locker room guy, has matured. Had a really cool moment at the beginning of the game, or at the start of the game, prior to, it was more during warm-ups, coming over and hugging his young son. He's doing this to show his son, that he can still play. And I think he wants to show his son a little bit of what he was like when he played here, some of his best memories playing with the New York Giants. And now he's back, and he deserved got a well-deserved MetLife Stadium standing ovation after that slant route catch. And that was pretty awesome to see. It was pretty cool. The veteran is 100%, in my opinion, going to make the team. I think he's clear-cut as well. But it's worth mentioning, it's worth talking about, because John Harbaugh has made it very clear that he's going to have to work to earn a roster spot. So to see him get involved on Saturday, although it was minimal, although he had 2 catches, 6 yards, including that slant, it's a great sign. And ultimately, I do believe Odell will find a way to be on this 53-man roster. He's going to find himself on the roster by the end of training camp. He's had great relationships with John Harbaugh, again, playing under him in Baltimore at the coaching staff. He's got the LSU connection with Malik Neighbors. And if there's anyone who really can mentor Malik Neighbors in this pivotal year of rehabbing, recovering from an injury, I think it's Odell. He's been in that situation before. First round pick, multiple time Pro Bowler, has had the pressure of dealing with injuries and then responding, recovering, and how do I return back to my true form? And I think the resemblance, and we've talked about it plenty over the years, between Malik Neighbors and Odell is certainly there. So to see them share a wide receiver room, it's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome to watch. And so, I just think for his great relationships with Harbaugh and the coaching staff, to be able to mentor a player like Malik Neighbors, obviously, again, they have that LSU connection, and also just to develop a relationship that he has and friendship that he has with Jackson Dart on and off the field. I think that's something definitely that will go a long way for him. And I do think I think Odell will be on the New York Giants roster this year. I hope he is able to stay healthy the full season and contribute, and maybe we get a little bit of a throwback, maybe some flashes of what he was able to do in the early days of his career. This is a Super Bowl champion, multiple-time Pro Bowler, someone you could eventually argue maybe for the Hall of Fame. Borderline. I think he still has a couple more years to prove himself and show that. And I think, again, he wants to show his family and his young son, like, I could still go out there and ball and look at what your dad can do. And I think it's really cool just to see him with the New York Giants being able to have this opportunity to play and perform with some of the young guys like Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterboo and Malik Neighbors. So really, really cool to watch. As for quarterbacks, we did see Jameis Winston in this game. He came in for that one play where Jackson Dart went down. He also came in primarily in the second quarter, maybe a little bit into the third quarter. But he finished the day with completing 8 of his 9 passes for 89 yards. Not bad for Winston. He's going to be the backup on this team, a veteran, another locker room guy, similar to OBJ, who will be able to mentor the young guys and be a leader for John Harbaugh's team. And then we got to look at the Giants' third string quarterback 3, Brandon Allen. And that's sort of, when we're talking about the offense, where everything sort of went downhill for the offense, because Brandon Allen took over, and that was primarily majority of the second half where he was in the game. It just fell apart. And again, you can't look too much into it, because this is a guy who's not expected to make the team, and he's not really going to play. He was just getting reps. He was just getting opportunities. Even the starters around him, the players around him, the offensive line, some of the pass catchers around him were not the guys that you would expect to make the team. These are practice squad guys, taxi squad guys. The starters started the game. They didn't want to risk them getting hurt, like potentially what the scare we had with Jackson Dart when he went to the 10. And then the second half of the game, they threw out, some of the backups. And that's why we got to look at Brandon Allen out there for as long as we did. I'm not stressing over it, but in terms of performance, not great. He completed 5 of his 8 passes, 45 yards, but he threw those 2 interceptions. His first pass of the game, first play of the game when he came in under center was a pass. He threw it pretty much right into the arms of the Vikings defender. I mean, it was ridiculous. And, not a great performance for him. Again, not expected to be the backup. That job is won. It's not even a battle. That job is won by Jameis Winston already. Jackson Dart is proven. He's the starter. He showed it last year. He's shown it throughout camp and this summer. But if he's looking to crack the 53-man roster, Brandon Allen, that performance was a step in the wrong direction for him. So I'm expecting him to play a little bit more throughout the preseason. Maybe they give Dart the rest that he deserves. Maybe they give Winston the rest that he deserves. I think what the Giants will do is Dart won't play against the Dolphins in this next preseason game. I think Jameis Winston will start the game, and then they'll have Brandon Allen go out there again. But right now, he's just fighting for a job. He's fighting for a spot. I'm not worried too much about it. But, obviously, when the regular season comes around and all the starters are playing and Dart is playing a full game, he's not hurt. He's not going to the Boo Medical tent. Fingers crossed. We'll get more scoring done from the Giants offense. Can't harp on it. Can't look into it too much right now. It's only the preseason. So as for the defense, they allowed 13 points on the day. And so we'll get into some of the players that stood out on the defensive side of the ball for me. A couple of rookies that I want to harp on, I want to touch on here. And that really starts with rookie linebacker Jack Kelly. Day 3 guy, finished the game as the Giants' leading tackler in 5 total, 2 solo on the day. So really impressed with him. Guy out of BYU, similar to like a Bobby Okereke middle linebacker guy, or maybe even like a Micah McFadden, who is, healthy now, but is recovering. He missed pretty much all of last year. But I think Jack Kelly, this was a great day for him. And for a guy that's trying to show Denard Wilson and John Harbaugh that he can compete and he can make this roster, put this on your resume, because this was a really good performance for him. Like I said, 5 total tackles for him, leading all Giants defensive players, 2 solo. His biggest play of the day didn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, though. Kelly came in on a blitz. He drove back the Vikings running back into J.J. McCarthy's lap. And that allowed for Darius Alexander to come in and finish up a sack. That was the Giants' only sack of the day. It was the defense's only sack of the day. So Darius Alexander will get credited with that sack. Jack Kelly started it, and he was all over the place. He looked really good. Again, saw a little bit of a Micah McFadden type player in him. So it'll be really cool to see when both of those guys are healthy, them playing together, along with some of the other players. We didn't see Tremaine Edmonds in this game in terms of linebackers, veteran that the Giants signed this offseason. Didn't see Arvell Reese all that much. He looked good. I was impressed with him. He had 2 tackles. Colton Hood, defensive back, he had 3. So not everyone played, but in terms of one standout player on the Giants defense, it was another rookie. So Malachi Fields on the offense and Jack Kelly on the defense. 5 total tackles and helped them get that 1 sack. He helped Darius Alexander get that 1 sack. I give him an assist on that. So Jack Kelly was really good. Like I said, impressed with some of the other rookies here, Arvell Reese and Colton Hood. Reese 2 total tackles, Colton Hood with 3. And another player really stood out to me was Leki Fatu, a veteran defensive tackle. Kind of came in when they traded Dexter Lawrence away. The Giants obviously signed Shelby Harris and DJ Reader. We didn't see either of them play in this game, but Fatu was a former Texan. He came into this game and he had one of, if not the only really big or significant pass breakup of the game. It was almost an interception. The Giants did not have an interception. So cornerback, which is a positional battle for the Giants this summer, is still unsettled. Again, we didn't see all the veterans. Paulson Adebo didn't play. Greg Newsome, who they signed this offseason, didn't play. But we almost got an interception. It wasn't a cornerback, but it was Leki Fatu who had the pass breakup right into the hands. He kind of bobbled it a little bit. Wasn't able to come through with the interception, but it was a good sign for him. And another guy competing for a roster spot similar to Jack Kelly. Put that on your tape. Put that on your resume, because that is something that looks good in terms of your case for making the team, something that Denard Wilson and this Giants defense are really looking for. In terms of cornerbacks, going back to the cornerback positional battle, again, we didn't see veterans, Paulson Adebo, didn't see Greg Newsome, Deontay Banks did play, Colton Hood played, we had a couple of other defensive backs play, or Darius Washington, former Raven, a guy that played for John Harbaugh in Baltimore. And I actually thought he played pretty well. 2 total tackles for him. And I think this is a guy that's definitely going to make the team. Another veteran. Drew Phillips is currently dealing with knee injuries, has missed a couple practices, has kind of been working off to the sideline with some of the trainers. And Ardarius Washington has gotten some of the reps for him on the first team as the slot corner, the nickel corner. So I expect him to make the team. One area I think that needs more work in terms of the defense, does raise a couple of red flags on the defensive side, was the Giants' run defense. Their interior defensive line just has to be better, plain and simple. The Vikings finished their first possession with 44 rushing yards, and I have that they finished with 111 rushing yards and 27 carries. So do the quick math there. 4.1 yards average per rush, not very good for the Giants' run defense. And what's even more concerning is that there were 3 big rushing plays against the Giants. Aaron Jones rushing for a long of 18 yards, Dylan Bell a long of 17, and Jordan Mason a long of 15. Again, it's only the preseason. Not everybody played, but that is something that I'm keeping an eye on. And what's great about Denard Wilson, and I know if he hasn't already in practice, is going to be stressing, cleaning that up and making sure that we make these stops and, not allowing for these running backs to break off and have these big yards. I mean, that can't happen in the regular season, these big runs, especially in the first 2 games when they face the Cowboys at home in primetime on Sunday Night Football. Dallas always has the Giants number in primetime, week 1, Sunday Night Football against the Giants. And then they're going to go to Los Angeles and face the Rams in week 2. They're going to be facing some talented running backs like Javonte Williams, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum. So again, if there's anything Denard Wilson and John Harbaugh, and I know these guys will clean it up, they're going to stress it in practice. They don't play around. If they haven't done it already, is just the 2 things that I'd say there's more work to be done throughout on the entire field. Cornerback, linebacker, interior defensive line, run defense, pass defense. But also it's just that the run defense has to be significantly better. If they can improve on that, they're going to be just fine. Again, we really only saw 1 sack in this game. That was Darius Alexander, but it's only the preseason, right? Like, think about it. When we get into the regular season, we're going to have Brian Burns, who didn't play in this game. Kayvon Thibodeau, who I don't think played in this game. He might have played. Abdel Carter did not play in this game. Arvell Reese played, but it was his first, real NFL game, if you will. And that should make things a little bit better. That should clean things up in terms of the run defense. So when you get all those guys playing together on the same page, Denard Wilson's defense clicking on all cylinders, and John Harbaugh, really working it on the sideline on both sides of the ball, I expect things to be a little bit better on the defense. And really, when you look at this game, they only allowed 13 points. Like, that's not terrible. That's not bad. Obviously, that's 13 more points than the Giants defense wanted to allow. But again, it's just the first preseason game, and I think a lot of these things will be corrected. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of these players who didn't play, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdel Carter, just some of these other guys get a little bit more of opportunities, more reps, or maybe even start and play in the next preseason game this upcoming Saturday against the Miami Dolphins next Saturday. Run defense has to be better, but overall not terribly disappointed by the Giants defense. I think only allowing 13 points to an offense like the Vikings is not bad. That's a game, however, during the regular season, you got to win that. I think that's a winnable game for the Giants against the Minnesota Vikings, especially at home. That first preseason game is always just so fun. And it's really, like I said, with the Malachi Fields touchdown, it's really the first moment where you kind of get the goosebumps and you're like, wow, football's back. The NFL is back. Giants football is back. It gets you fired up and hyped up for the season. So really thrilled with both the offense and the defense in this game. Things that they got to clean up, they got to work on, they got to be better at. Harbaugh's got to be better. Some of the play calling has to be a little bit better. I'm not going to lie, not totally impressed. But again, just to be able to see Giants football at MetLife was a great sight. And there's a lot of positives to take away. With all the negatives, there are positives to take away from this game. I want to touch on special teams before we wrap up here. Dante Miller, Deonte Banks were really used as the only kick returners. And Braxton Berrios and Xavier Gipson were the only punt returners in this game. But other than that, I mentioned there's 3 big positional battles really at training camp this summer. We touched on wide receiver. We touched on cornerback. The other being kicker. We got 2 kickers right now competing for a roster spot. The only kicker that was featured in this game was Ben Sauls, who nailed a 46-yard field goal and had the extra point after the Malachi Fields touchdown. We did not see Dominic Zavada, the Michigan undrafted free agent, signing. He'll be a rookie this year. Now, it's interesting because Zavada in practice, all the reports are saying he's been perfect. He's nailing everything. And Sauls has been good, but has not been as perfect as Zavada. And if there's one thing I know about John Harbaugh, it's he has a sixth sense, and that's finding a hidden gem in special teams players. Maybe it stems from him starting his coaching career as a special teams coach, but Zavada could be, dare I say, the next Justin Tucker, a guy that also, I believe, was undrafted and was just found by the Baltimore Ravens. That they just found Justin Tucker, a multiple-time Pro Bowler, before all of the legal trouble and allegations and everything, before he exited the NFL, was one of the best kickers in the NFL. And so we didn't see Zavada in this game. I have high hopes for him to win the job, but Sauls looked good. Nailing that 46-yard field goal was great. The extra point was great. You expect him to be perfect. He's fighting for a job right now. He's fighting for a roster spot, so he's got to be able to make these kicks. And the reason why we talk about it is kicker was such an issue for the Giants last year. I can't stress enough how bad special teams was at times, right? When it came to Graham Gano and we had Younghoe Koo and some other kickers that it cost us games, right? Like the Denver game, for example, last year. And granted, the defense did blow that game, but they got to make those extra points. They got to make those field goals at the end there to beat a team like the Broncos, who made the AFC Championship last year, one of the best teams in the AFC. They had a real chance to beat them last year. They blew it. They had a lead going into the fourth quarter. They blew that. But you can't be – it's like a free throw. You can't – if you're an NFL kicker, you can't be missing field goals, extra points especially. So – that's something that those guys work on. They got to practice, and Zavada will get an opportunity. I think what the Giants did in this game was Ben Sauls started the game. He was the kicker for the first half because Zavada was dressed, Dominic Zavada, but because they didn't score and Brandon Allen struggled to get down the field, they didn't score any touchdowns. They were never really in field goal position in the third or fourth quarter. We really were kind of robbed of an opportunity to see Dominic Zavada, the young undrafted free agent kicker out of Michigan. So I think what the Giants will do in this next game against the Dolphins, if I were John Harbaugh, I'd flip it. I'd have Zavada start the game. Maybe they start with Dart again or Jameis Winston. He'll get the opportunity to get a couple of extra points or maybe even field goals. They'll drive down the field. He'll get the chance to show the fans and the coaching staff and everyone around, media members, what he's capable of and why he deserves to be on this 53-man roster. And then they'll have Ben Sauls close out the game or finish out the game. So that's what I expect them to do with special teams. Not too much to add there. Really wanted to harp more on offense and defense. Again, plenty of players we really did not get the chance to see play in this game on both sides of the ball. Or I guess I should say all three, offense, defense, and special teams. But more work to be done for John Harbaugh and this coaching staff. Luckily, there's more preseason games, plenty of more practices to go before we do it for real on week 1 in primetime against Dallas. It's not going to be easy. Giants' first 2 weeks are against the Dallas Cowboys and Los Angeles Rams. And, let me tell you, right now the Rams are the heavy favorites to win the Super Bowl. So it is not going to be an easy start for the New York Giants. It's never easy. Last year they had the hardest strength of schedule. So, being able to win those games early is going to be crucial. They got a lot more to work on. And I think it's only going to help playing these preseason games and getting that in-game action, especially for some of these young guys, and even though Dart and Cam Scatterbo and some of these guys and even Malik Neighbors, right, like who only played in 4 games last year. Yeah, okay, they have a full season under their belt or rookie season under their belt, but Dart does not have a full season under his belt as a starter, right? Like he has more to show, to prove. Scatterbo doesn't have a full season under his belt. Even though he played as a rookie, he got hurt on week 10. Neighbors only had a full year and then got hurt last year on week 4. So some of these guys, although they're second-year players, along with the rookies, they're young and they have a lot more experience to gain and reps to show for it. And I think that's why bringing in guys like Odell and Jameis Winston on the offensive side, and maybe even like a DJ Reader or Shelby Harris on the defensive side, and Brian Burns as well, those guys will show and mentor some of the young guys so that we are ready for week 1. Again, we didn't see everyone in this game, but I'm expecting as the preseason, as training camp goes along, we'll get more of a look at what the starting offense and defense is going to look like so that we're ready for Dallas on week 1. And then again, the Rams, who that is a matchup that scares me. I have that one circled in LA as well. Don't worry. We're going to break it all down. Talked about the Vikings this past Saturday, next Saturday against the Dolphins. Don't worry. We're going to talk after that game as well. If you enjoyed this episode 1 of the G-Men Report podcast, please make sure to support, leave a like, subscribe. Everything helps to get this podcast, to get this new project off the ground running. Very excited about it. It's been something that I've been passionate about and I've talked about wanting to do for a really long time. So finally glad that I get to record this first episode. There's going to be more episodes to come. We're going to have guests. We're going to talk all things Big Blue right here on the G-Men Report. We'll talk after the Giants' next preseason matchup against the Dolphins next Saturday. Till then, go Big Blue.